Gotram Namachayakritam Navidama Mayam Samya Adaram Purusharshava Atmanascha Parasyapi Gotram Namachayakritam. Word for word. Na, do not. Vidama, no. Vayam, I. Samyak, perfectly. Kartaram, Mako. Purushari Shabbat, our best of human beings. Atmana, of myself. Cha, and. Parasya, of others. Api, also. Gotram, family history. Ama, name. Cha, and. Yatkritam, which has been made by whom? Translation. The girl said, oh, the best of human beings, I do not know who has begotten me. I cannot speak to you perfectly about this, nor do I know the names, the origin of the associates with me. So, the living entity is ignorant of his origin, does not know why this material world is created, why others are working in this material world, and what the ultimate source of this manifestation is. No one knows the answers to these questions, and this is called ignorance. By researching into the origin of life, important scientists are finding some chemical compositions or cellular combinations, but actually no one knows the origin, no one knows the original source of life within this material world. The phrase Ramajigyasa is used to indicate an inquisitiveness to know the original source of our existence in the material world. No philosopher, scientist, or politician actually knows where from we have come, why we are here struggling so hard for existence, and where we will go. Generally, people are of the opinion that we're all here accidentally, and that as soon as these bodies are finished, all our dramatic activities will be finished, and we will become zero. Such scientists and philosophers are impersonalists, Buddhists, In this verse, the girl is expressing the actual position of the living entity. She cannot tell Puranjana her father's name because she does not know from where she has come, nor does she know why she is present in that place. And frankly says that she does not know anything about any of this or all this. This is the position of the living entity in the material world. There are so many scientists, philosophers, big leaders, but they do not know where from they have come, nor do they know why they are busy within this material world to obtain a position of so-called happiness. In this material world, we have many nice facilities for living, but we are so foolish that we do not ask who has made this world habitable for us and has arranged it so nicely. Everything is functioning in order. People foolishly think that they are produced by chance, this material world, and that in this material world, and that after death they will be material. They think that this beautiful place of habitation automatically remains. So Narad Muni is continuing with the story of King Puranjana, and he is telling, of course, King Pachinibai, who was a very pious king, but a little bit caught up in rituals, fruity activity, trying to make a nice position in the material world, and for people follow Karmakanda section, the Vedas, so on. And Narad Muni, feeling very compassionate, wanted to elevate him further to this, to the spiritual position. And so he's using this story allegorically of King Puranjana. Now, King Puranjana, of course, represents the living entity. Living entity. This King Puranjana is very attracted to this girl, and she becomes attracted to him. And we've been describing in the last few days that this is actually the living entity when it comes to this world has a desire to be separate from Krishna, joy, and therefore the situation is created so that attraction is there. The girl represents that in general the situation of Maya in the material world. Now, in the next few verses, it's actually mentioned because here she says that nor do I know the names of or the origin of the associates with me. So she's not alone. She's not alone. She's there with friends. According to the story told by Narad Muni, she's there. King Puranjana is seen. She's there with friends, and he's focused in on her. He's focused in on her. There are others there, but he's focused in on her. And so, in general, she represents the living entity's attraction to the material world. But in the next few verses, the girl represents the living entity's intelligence, material intelligence in this material world. And her friends, there's also further on the week about, Narad Muni talked about a snake. Snake represents the light air of the living entity. There's somehow or other, she's there, the snake there. There's all these other people. They all represent, all the senses and mind and so on and so forth. And then she talks about a city of 9 gates, which represents the body, meaning the 2 eyes and the 2 ears and the nostrils, the mouth, anus and the rectum. So the city of 9 gates. Narad Muni very clearly presents this story and very exactly, which very exactly represents the position of the city of 9 gates. And the body is like a city. You've got all these veins and so on, like roadways, and bone structures, like hills and mountains, so hairs like trees. Expanded out to around us, it could represent a city, a city which is built up with roads and so on. So Narad Muni, and this will be explained in the next few verses. So the girl represents the living entity's intelligence. Now, someone asked last night at the program, what is the difference between spiritual intelligence and the material intelligence? Well, intelligence is one. Now, the living entity is is spirit soul, and has now the living entity has intelligence, has mind, has identity, has senses, just like we have in the body. We have so the living entity, the spirit soul, has senses, has mind, intelligence. They, when coming to the material world, they become covered grossly and subtly uh, by the physical elements. Intelligence, mind is a subtle cover that becomes our intelligence. It's actually our intelligence soul coming through this intelligence, and when this and then when we use the intelligence for the material activities, this is called material intelligence. And but when the intelligence hears the words of Krishna in Bhagavad Gita or the words of Bhagavatam, hears kirtan, all this, then that's intelligence used in a spiritual sense, and the spiritual intelligence of the soul is awakened and brought to life and enlivened. So that's the difference between spiritual intelligence and material intelligence. Spiritual sound vibration, whatever form, if it's actually spiritual sound vibration, Hare Krishna mantra and instructions from Bhagavad, so on and so forth, then it will penetrate all the coverings of the soul, all the coverings of material elements. The material elements that make up the body, and Krishna describes this. We were reading yesterday, the 7th chapter. Krishna describes the different layers of different elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether, and so on. So the body is made up of it. So the spirituality and transcendental knowledge actually penetrates all that and goes to the soul proper and nourishes the intelligence, nourishes the mind, nourishes the senses, and then they start to act. They start to act. If we hear that and follow that, follow wherever that's coming from, follow that character, follow that, and then all these things become spiritualized. But if we're not engaging in our external activities, then they remain on the mundane. So the girl represents really the mundane intelligence. Here, Puranjana, meaning the living entity, is attracted to the. She reciprocates. He's attracted to the. Superficially, Puranjana is attracted to the. This is, so the living entity initially has a desire for the world, and so the world reciprocates. The world, meaning Maya, reciprocates. So she reciprocates. So this is how the story is told. So he's got attraction, and she's reciprocating with him. And then he wants to go deeper into it. Wants to see her face and see her hair. She's got nice eyes. He's appreciating. He's getting more deeper. He's appreciating her beauty more minutely. So I've been talking about how the living entity has a general attraction, and then because of that attraction, feels very enthusiastic, very eager to want to explore, go deeper into it. Go deeper into it. What are the things in the world? What are the different things in the world I can enjoy? So the living entity wants to go deeper. So this is very well told here in this analogy that he wants to see her face. He's appreciating all the different aspects of the qualities and so on and so forth. Ultimately, she represents intelligence, but she's facilitating his activities, and she talks, and all her friends are, all the senses of the body, and then there's the total body. All these things help one to enjoy in the world. And so one is very eager. When these things are functioning nicely, when our body's functioning nicely, very healthy, strong, our body, all our senses, our eyes are working nicely, our ears are working nicely, we're smelling nicely, we're tasting nicely, we're able to walk nicely, we feel enthusiastic. We feel very enthusiastic. But if something goes wrong, these things don't, or, our mind is very, feeling very positive, intellect's working sharply, we feel enthusiastic. But unfortunately, in the material world, these things degenerate. So when one is young, they have, generally speaking, they have their body become, as they grow up, body becomes nice and strong, eyes are good, the ears are, sharp and hear nicely. But as the years go by, everything starts to degenerate. They become less. So in the beginning, and you'll generally speaking, you'll find young people are very, very enthusiastic to enjoy the world because everything's strong. The senses are strong. Their bodies are strong. The eyes are good. The ears are good. Everything's working. And so they're very eager. So they have a general attraction. They want to go deeper into it, explore it more. Just like as Puranjana, he wants to explore now he wants to touch her, feel her, and he wants to go deeper into it. And so a living entity wants to do that. Now, as I said, as long as the senses are working, then one feels enthusiastic. But if something happens, even with a young person, say, you're young, 14, 15, 20, and something, you're playing sport or something like you have a serious injury, and then you break the leg, you can't do that sport anymore. Your enthusiasm is going to go down. Oh, I was a great footy player, or I was really good at cricket, or I was good at rugby, but I had an injury, and you were enthusiastic when you were on top of it, but then you had a serious injury, you can't play that sport anymore. That's over. Even you're 20 years old or whatever you are. So then your enthusiasm goes down and you don't feel so eager to, you start feeling a bit depressed. And a lot of things can go wrong at any moment, and at any age. But generally speaking, as one gets older, this is going to come without fail, because the eyesight go, glasses, you can't see. Then I have to glasses. Your hearing starts to go, your smelling, everything starts to go. Skin, what happens? Skin, you can't walk so well anymore. So therefore, when you're enthusiastic to enjoy the world, you're using your body and your mind to do it. But then these things start breaking down, and you start losing enthusiasm. You start losing your enthusiasm. You start complaining. You get grumpy. There's that saying, grumpy old men. I guess grumpy, but I heard grumpy old men. Grumpy old men. They get grumpy. Why? Because everything starts to fall apart. They were young, they were enthusiastic, they could do things, and then it starts to fall apart. Can't even walk anymore. You've got to go around in one of those mobility scooters or something like that with flags on the back. Getting people out of the way. And then generally a lot of those guys you find they're pretty grumpy if you don't get out of the way. Okay. They trying to overtake you, they can still go at the same speed what they used to do. And so, they get grumpy. And then one said, your body's not good. Maybe you're on crutches, you have to use one of those walkers. And you're very easily, it said that as you get older, you start to lose your balance. And something to do with the inner ear or something. And then, you just keep walking along or you're going down the stairs, you fall off all of a sudden. I remember when I was young, I used to read stories about older person fell down the stairs or fell down as walking out the door. Actually, they're all falling down. Well, because they're older and their bones are brittle, when they fall over, they break their bones. Quite serious. So actually, not everyone as they get older, but a lot of people, they start to lose their sense of balance. That's why it's recommended if you're an older person, don't get up in ladders because the sense of balance is, and you get all giddy and down you go. And, so therefore you get grumpy. And so it's understand. But when it's and later on in this chapter at the end there, and then it's like the body turns against, and all these friends of the girl who are none other than the senses and the mind, and they're making up the body, and then they start to fall apart, and it's just like, and then you've got demands, but they can't fulfilled, and they've got demands. The senses have got, the eyes can see there, but then you can't be fulfilled. Then they start turning on you. You start cursing your own body. This body. I always remember reading years ago, the Queen Mother, when she hit 100, she was falling over. She was cursing her own body. Can't even walk. 3 times falling over. She started to curse her own body. Before we loved her. You know what I mean? As you get older, you get all ugly. Generally, old age means ugly. And so you try to avoid it. Goes the other one. In the beginning, you look at the reflection, in the mirror, always checking yourself out, checking out all the other beautiful people around the place, and like to associate with each other. And then, when you get older, then you get more ugly. The skin gets all crinkly, so on and so forth. So many things, blemishes, and so many. You can't do anything about it. People try to do things about it. And so this is the situation. And now here, in this particular verse, the girl is just really just saying to, I think, Ranjana, that she's there with her friends. She really doesn't know where she came from. This would be quite strange, if you met someone like that, and where you from? I don't know. What's your name, right? Because actually meant that here, there's no name mentioned. There's no name mentioned. Just a woman. Right? So it's like she doesn't even know about that. So if you met someone, what's your name? Where you from? I don't. Who are your friends? I don't. Where you come? I don't. Quite a strange person. But actually, the living entity is like that. And even the living entity, of course, ultimately comes from Krishna. As far as the body, how does it all come about? Prabhupada he stresses on this point. No one knows actually the answers to these questions. Well, how the material world. I mean, people are looking into it. Been looking into it for thousands and thousands of years. Trying to research what's the origin of life, how we all came about, what's the origin of the universe. You do it, micro. We all came about. How did I come up? How the whole universe came. So there's also theories of research, also theories. Important scientists have been researching this, the origin of life, finding some chemical compositions, cellular combinations. So they trace it down, they go down and down and down. They kind of get it down to these basic blocks, molecules and stuff, cellular. They need to go deeper. That's a partial understanding. That's just still on the material plane. Now, actually, the origin of all is spirit. From spirit comes matter. It's not the other way around, from matter comes spirit. Spirit comes matter, and the origin of spirit is Krishna. And last night we were in John, all that is spiritual and all that is material, I am both the origin and dissolution. But Krishna says quite emphatically, I am the source. I am the source. So where is the source? It ultimately rests with Krishna. In the intermediate, there's the material energy functions in a certain way. Certainly, you can get at the atomic level and subatomic level, find out and all that. But really, I mean, these are theories, and they try to back it up with so much, but really, no one actually. So this is called, as Prabhupada says, avidya, ignorance. But the desire for it, especially if you try to look into it spiritually, this is called Brahma Jigyasa. Inquisitiveness about your origins, especially on the spiritual platform. All right, material, what's beyond that? and then this is just natural. Everyone wants to get back. They want to understand their actual life. What am I supposed to do? Who am I? What am I supposed to be doing? I know. I kind of know what society expects and what my family wants me to do, and friends are advising and so on, what that schools kind of set up in certain ways. I don't know all that, but what I really want, actually, the living entity doesn't really know. The living entity has had many lives and is just in this life. Now, you go past the human species life. The deer is born, the baby deer is born. Somehow or other, it comes out of the mother and it stands up, and somehow or other, the mother runs, and the deer just naturally, instinctively, one sense, knows to run along with the mother. Although it's never met the mother before, practically speaking. And the mother runs off, and then the deer looks, well, I'm going to run off too. So they really don't know. So all species of life, they see the ignorance quite plainly there. But from within, that impulse is given, actually, explained in the Bhagavad Gita. The impulse for doing all that, even in other species of life, it comes from the Supreme Personality of God. Paramatma impels that living entity to run with the mother. Paramatma impels it, just like the baby deer will know, to go up and suckle on the nipples of the mother to get the milk. No, it's not that the mother can speak to the deer, come on and drink my milk from my nipples. It's not that they're having a conversation. Now it's time for you to do this. Somehow or other, the little baby deer knows to do it. It just goes there, just almost instinctive. Now this is mentioned. It's not just the Prophet actually one time in the conversation said, actually, it's not instinct really. It's people say it's just instinctive. Yeah, one sense, but actually, they're being impelled by the direction of Paramatma. Paramatma from within saying, now you have to go to your mother and go on and get nourished. So everything in the back of everything is the Supreme Personality of God. And in this world, especially in scripture, as Paramatma, he is all pervasive, even in the atom. He's there in one sense in a passive way, of just observing what all living entities are doing. And also he's active. He's making all the arrangements. He's impelling living entities to take up from their former positions, their desires, and he's impelling them to act in certain ways. He doesn't totally control. He gives some independence there to make their own. But it's certainly to continue on from where you were in the previous life, or so many lives before that. It's certainly the presence of Paramatma in all the different species of life that give one impetus to go on in a certain type of way. So Paramatma, within the heart of all, is both passive, observing, and active, arranging, and overseeing. And ultimately he's overseeing the material energy. The material energy is making right. But now we're totally deluded. We don't understand what really the purpose of life. If we are very fortunate and we get the compassion and mercy of someone like Narayana, representatives, we will come across someone who's very advanced in spiritual knowledge and able to get the idea of where we're supposed to be going, what our actual goal, what is the most beneficial for us, how to reawaken our spirituality, come up to the position of going on the path of devotional service and going back. But that's the whole idea. All is given by Krishna, fulfill our desire, but ultimately he wants us to come to our original. So there are certain ways that Krishna does this, and in many ways. But so here, the example is given of girl and living entity, the intelligence of so on, so the sense. Very wonderful example, only some are using analogy. So sometimes you have to hear things in an indirect way. You can't hear them directly. You may have some ego, false ego, we call it. If someone were to say directly, you're admired, but you just say it indirectly, get someone else. So many different ways to do it. So Narada Muni is obviously chosen to tell a story indirectly to King Prachindasha. He hasn't just come out to directly to him. It's like he's telling a story about someone. But then sometimes when we hear about others doing certain things, we can identify that actual, exact same thing. That person foolishly did this. I'm doing something similar. Maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe I should do something else. The great acharyas are very expert in presenting things to the individual according to who that individual is, according to where it is, and so on and so forth. Time, place, etc. One needs to be somewhat advanced, be able to be discerning enough to be able to present Krishna consciousness just appropriate to any given person, their situation. But not really a person. I don't know which he can speak to anyone, all levels, all levels of society. So Hare Krishna, the management asked me to finish a little bit early today. A big festival coming up, a holy festival. So I'll finish there. I'll read this verse again, and if anyone would like to ask a question or comment. Text 33. The girl said, "Oh, best of people, I do not know who has begotten me. I cannot speak directly about this, nor do I know the names or the origin of the associates with me." Has anyone got a question? Yes. Super solid. But no, the super solid is the forum, Krishna. But of course, is the expansion. Paramatma is the expansion. Forum as Vishnu, Mahavishnu, double. You have the Kiradam everywhere. So, yeah, that form in the heart, forum, Vishnu. He's doing the work of Krishna through his expansion. Krishna himself is going into that. He does all the work. He's fully on Krishna's expansion of doing. The Paramatma is like that. Jitatmana Prashant. When one has conquered over the mind, you have reached me. Because actually, to control the senses, just like in the Astanga Yoga, they do yama, niyama, and then they get the body regulated, and then pratyahara, draw the senses, dharana, and start to work on the mind. Mind is more difficult to get up. The jhana, the meditation, and finally, then you're fully focused. So when the mind is fully focused, then Krishna, you reach. And that was the block, the big block. When the mind is again focused on Krishna, you've conquered the mind, then you Krishna. But then that relationship with Krishna, Paramatma, becomes very strong. Krishna comes into the life. We read many stories, great prophets, directly to them. Krishna himself went to visit Vrindavan. He was blind, but the boy came along. Krishna himself. So Krishna, he keeps himself because you don't want to know about Krishna. Even you're a materialist, you don't. But then as you become into he's helping you, writing. When you become free of that, Krishna reciprocate. Nice. Yes. Krishna reciprocates with for devotees. Well, generalized. It depends on the situation. Krishna will fulfill the desires. And now, of course, Krishna is fulfilling everything as you deserve, as you deserve. I mean, you may have desires. Your desire maybe I'm going to kill you. Well, will Krishna fulfill that? So, for the ordinary person, it just depends whether what the situation is, how Krishna fulfills that desire. That's up to Krishna. For the devotee, yes, he's mindful that someone has taken up the path of devotional service and wants to see that devotee advance. So sometimes the devotee has desires, Krishna is seeing, and whether that desire is actually beneficial, Krishna will fulfill it. Maybe he won't fulfill that desire because he sees that. Even sometimes a desire for the devotee for some material situation, Krishna may give that, let the devotee be satisfied and then remain nicely in devotion. So maybe he won't give it. Maybe he'll take it away. Maybe he'll give it and take it. And so that's up to Krishna. Krishna knows exactly how to deal with the situation. But maybe we think that, well, sometimes we even get up. Well, why did Krishna do that? I wouldn't have done it that way. I would have done it this way. Who are you? As if you know better than Krishna. Krishna's in the heart of all living entities. He's been with every living entity since time immemorial. So he knows what you've done in thousands of lives, what your desires have been over many. He knows you better than you know yourself. And so Krishna has many ways of dealing with it. The devotee, I just believe, the devotee, as they advance, they surrender more to Krishna and just leave it, whatever Krishna desires. You may have a desire, but you leave it to Krishna. It may be for devotional service. And whether Krishna fulfills that. Maybe he's got some other idea. Or you have a desire to do this type of work. Maybe Krishna won't do it. He'll arrange some other type. So as you advance, you just learn to surrender more and more, whatever form it comes. And when it comes, then you just accept it. Mercy. But certainly Krishna doesn't like to see the but of course, everyone's got their independent desire, and if someone is very much wanting, then ultimately Krishna, they may want to go out of the motions, Krishna. But you'll never totally go out. Temporarily, you may Krishna reign. All right, Hare Krishna. Finished a little early, so Hare Krishna, thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Ki Jai. Lord Premanandi,